on a very exciting trip because we are going to the beach. Do you want to explain the whole story?
Me, Dad and Juno went to the beach and we walked along the beach.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, Dad, come, you need to come. And Dad was like, I'll be there in a second. And then I was like, come, you need to come, it's a boat. And then Dad came and he was like, whoa, it is a boat.
So basically, Ramona found a shipwreck. So we've got a car full of friends.
Yay!
Because Tim, he was like, wow, this boat looks really cool that Ramona's found, and he phoned the local archaeologist, who then got in touch with the regional council, and the regional council phoned Wellington, which is our capital city, and there's an archaeologist coming to look at Ramona's shipwreck today from Wellington.
It's mine!
And so we're all going to the beach to meet this the archaeologist from Wellington and to find out about the shipwreck, see if there's any signs or clues telling us about the history of the boat and what they're going to do. Like, it's really cool. Yeah?
There might be a cheeseful treasure or a skeleton.
Yeah.
Or like a really sacred item.
So today I wanted to chat about this idea that homeschoolers are kind of socially inept. Now, I kind of want to discuss this a little bit because there's lots of little ideas that I want to talk about. Number one, that's not true. I think that homeschoolers can be a bit different to other kids in the way that they engage with the world. I think more what we see with people who are homeschooled is perhaps an intensity of conversation that other kids perhaps aren't used to or don't do, and that grown-ups aren't used to, because most mainstream kids aren't really like that. And I think that's because unschoolers or homeschoolers, probably homeschoolers, I can only really speak from the unschooling because we kind of don't have any curriculum at all. We spend all day talking. And since our kids have been really young, we've answered their questions with like full narratives, and we've had intense, robust dialogue around intense, robust topics since they were tiny wee. Kids spend so much time with adults that I think they're used to having these kind of like long conversations, having their voices heard, being respected, being asked kind of important questions of. They kind of are used to this like mutually respectful communication and lots of it. And I think that that does make homeschoolers slightly intense to the wider world. So yeah, I admit that there is this kind of intensity in homeschool kids. But I read a book recently, Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell. It's a really interesting book, and I have, I guess, a little bit of a problem. It's all about looking at successful people and looking at what makes people successful. And while he addresses this a little bit, I think it would be too easy to read that book and say, oh, we have to do all of this stuff because that will make our kids successful. When actually, I don't really want my kids to be successful. I don't want them to necessarily have excellent jobs that make lots of money in a house, and I've got other ambitions for my kids. I want them to feel content and at peace, basically, with who they are, with the people around them, with the earth. I guess if I've got a dream, that is the dream. But this book did make me think about a lot of things, because I do want my children to be able to do whatever they want. So in a way, that is a version of success. I want them to be able to achieve their own dreams. So that I felt there was some insight in this book that I'm going to take and that other homeschoolers or unschoolers might want to think about. So there was a big longitudinal study done on child geniuses and where they ended up. And this guy who got the study off the ground had a theory that he would take these 300 kids who were geniuses from all across America, and they would, when they're adult, be very successful because they're geniuses, you know, of course. But what he found was that they mirrored the rest of society. Like, a third of them went on to be very successful, a third of them were middling, and a third of them were very unsuccessful. And their genius actually made no difference. But he found the thing that made the difference was the level of involvement the parents had with their children's learning journey. And this is interesting because I think some unschoolers in particular can be afraid of doing any coaching with their children or influencing their children too much. But the study found that children grew up to be successful according to how much time was spent engaged and in conversation with the child. So an example was given of a mum driving her boy to the doctors and saying to the boy, "You're here to see the GP. He's got a lot of information and knowledge, and you should take the opportunity to ask him some questions. Why don't you have a think now about some questions you'd like to ask the GP?" So this 9-year-old boy, when he went to the doctor, asked him these questions, and he got a lot out of it. I want to encourage homeschoolers and unschoolers in particular, but also all parents, to just have those conversations with your kids where you just gently remind them that this is a cool opportunity, remind them that they can ask questions of this person, remind your kid that they are as important as the doctor and that they can have a mutually respectful conversation. When we've been preparing for this archaeologist visit, we've been chatting to Ramona about it and saying, you might want to have a think about some questions you want to ask the archaeologist. She is here to see the shipwreck that you found. Just giving her little prompts so that she can feel as though she's able to step up and have that conversation and feel a little bit brave. I also do think that unschoolers don't have to be afraid of other kind of guiding conversations as well. To have conversations about social convention. So if your kid loves taking their clothes off and running around, you know, some people might say, "Oh, well, yeah, they're homeschooled." But obviously there are certain settings where it's not really okay for your kid to be running around in the nick. And we mustn't be afraid of talking to our kid about it and saying, in other societies, everybody walks around naked. But in our society, if you notice it, nobody else does it. So perhaps in this area, we'll put your undies on, mate. Or things like swearing as well. We have a very relaxed attitude towards swearing. We just kind of let it go because it is a linguistic tool, but also if we make a big fuss about it, it will become a big deal to the kid and they'll probably have fun saying it just to make their parents go crazy. So we're pretty crazy, but we do talk to them about the social convention of swearing, and we say it's kind of not really okay to swear in front of these people or those people. So you know what, maybe homeschoolers, we are a little bit socially inept, but only really in a good way, I reckon. But for those of you who are actually worried about your kids being a bit socially awkward, hopefully that tool of talking about social convention can help you just guide your kid. Embrace your role as guide. Don't be afraid of it. See your kids as being real lucky that they've got someone as awesome as you to just help guide them and show them how things are done in this society, whilst treating them like a VIP from another era or another world. Thank you so much for watching. You can find more of my parenting stuff on my Patreon page. I'll link to that below. You can become a supporter for as little as $1 and get access to all sorts of things. Wherever you are in the world, much love to you and stay radical. Mwah!